Hi, my name's Keith Cooper, Northlight Images, and in this video I'm going to have a quick look at some aspects of print viewing. It could be because you want to have a look at your prints and compare them to a screen, all kinds of things. It's about making better prints. And at the heart of this, always remember, if you're thinking about stuff here, it's the print that matters. Now, if you're making images for showing on the screen, then obviously it's the screen image that matters. But it's the final print which matters, not what you see on the screen. And remember that no matter how well you do your color management, profiling, various other things, prints are never going to match the screen. This particular print, you're seeing light reflected off it. All of these, this is an image on the screen and you're seeing light emitted from the screen. So with that out of the way, how can I ever get decent looking prints? Well, it turns out there are a few basic principles of it. Now, the device I've got here is a graphic light PDV viewing cabinet. This is a professional grade print viewing cabinet. The lighting inside it is pretty close to D50. It's what's used commercially for print testing, and the color temperature in here, and the color temperature that is in here well inside the box, not out here where it's influenced by a light I've got there and some 4K lights I've got up the top here. This is about D50 or 5000K. This particular monitor I've got set up to use for when I'm doing videos and things, and it's set to match the lighting round here. Now that means this is set to 4000 or 4K. Now at this color temperature, because it matches the lighting in the room, I normally get a very good match between what's on the screen and what you see here. Now in this instance, this is probably because I've white balanced this image, what you're seeing on the video here, to the room lighting. Because this is 5000, this will look quite blue. Now, if I white balance on this, the room will look quite warm and the print should look okay. Now I'm going to have to do this in post because I've basically set the camera up for video recording in this particular room here. Some people say, how can I match, how can I use a 5000K or D50 lighting booth here if my monitor is set to something else? Now in normal use I'd probably have my monitor set for D65 or 6500, which is even bluer. In fact, this monitor here on the laptop here should look very blue because it's probably set to around 6500. I can't remember what it's set to, but this is the one that I want to include in when I'm doing videos. What's the important bit about color matching? Well, this device here, this is and I'll put a link to a review I did a few years ago of this, which this is collapsible, by the way. It folds up, so you can put it behind a desk or something. It doesn't take up necessarily this much space. This one is adjustable in intensity. Now, this is probably going to be absolutely burnt out on the video, but because it is so bright, and if I'm looking at it, it's actually the brightest thing I can see, as long as I don't look at the direct lights. This is absolutely perfect color-wise. But what you're seeing on the video probably isn't. I'm going to put it down a bit because the video doesn't have the dynamic range to be able to capture that well. So I put that down a bit lower. But we've still got a cooler temperature here than here. How can I hope to match them up for print evaluation? Well, it turns out that the key is in how our visual system works. If I look at this without this bright in the side of my visual field, if I'm just working on a screen here, and this might be at any color temperature, and then I turn to look at the viewing cabinet here, in the process of moving your head, your eyesight adapts, effectively changes your visual system's white balance so that this becomes white. And if I'm looking here from this close up into it with the lighting as it is, this looks very white. If I'm looking here, I just see a bright source. The key is matching brightness. colour differences, we are incredibly good, our visual system, at adjusting between them. So this print here, this is lit by light over here that is, if I remember rightly, at 4100 or thereabouts. I say or thereabouts because it's an LED based system, so I don't know exactly how accurate that is. Now, I'm hoping that when I edit the video, I see that this print here, viewed by that light there, matches the screen. That's exactly what I've set up. This should look completely wrong. How can I use this for testing? I make sure that in my testing setup, the brightness of this matches the brightness of the screen, and ideally, both of them are the brightest things in the room. The main reason that prints come out too dark is because people have their screens too bright. Why does that happen? Because when your screen is too bright, you edit the picture on the screen, you look at it, and you adjust it, and because it's quite bright, that opens up the shadows. So you edit it so it looks fine. Then when you print it, and on a print you've got a lower dynamic range, all of a sudden what you see on the print crunches up the shadows and the whole print comes out looking too dark. The most obvious and most common reason for prints coming out too dark is because your screen's set too bright. If you want to evaluate your prints, the real key is setting the brightness of this the same as the brightness of this. Now, this has been set specifically to match the room environment here. It's purely set up this way for making videos. So how I see this visually is not the same as how the camera is going to see it. So do bear that in mind. But the key when you're using visual lighting, whether you're using this or something like the Ilford viewing light I looked at the other day, you know, a much cheaper version than something like this, the key to doing it is getting the brightness levels right. If it's a good quality light source, then your change of viewing from here to here should make no difference, or from here to here. It's about getting the brightness. Quick tip how to get the brightness. Get your camera, set it on auto, point at the image on the screen. You can put it out of focus if you like, because that'll make it a bit more accurate. Just look at this, look at the readings of the camera. Then point it here, the same image at the print, and adjust the brightness here, so I can put this down quite a bit. Adjust the brightness so you get the same reading in the camera. Effectively, if you've got a camera that can tell you what the exposure values it's suggesting are on auto, then you don't need to know exactly what they are in absolute terms, you just need to match the two in relative terms. If it comes to colour accuracy, now there is obviously reasons for kit like this, and if you're working in pre-press, you're working in commercial printing, you use standardised viewing environments. That's when you might decide, right, I'm going to have my monitors set to 5000 or D50 because my viewing conditions are this. That's fine. However, a monitor set this warm, and that's warm to me looking at it, not how I've set it up to look okay on the screen here. A warm monitor like that, it often feels too dull, doesn't feel to have enough of them. The key is getting brightness variations right. Another thing, when you're doing soft proofing, ideally your soft proof that you appear, if you're using Photoshop or Lightroom and you do a lot of soft proof, ideally your screen brightness should be the same as you're going to check here, because you'll find that if you've got different viewing light to how you've got things set up for soft proofing, your screen set up here, your screen calibration, if you've got them set up differently, you'll find that soft proofing isn't that much of a benefit. Now, I always say that soft proofing is something you should use sparingly, and you should learn to trust your judgment on these things. That is why any new printer I get, this is the image I print. I print this. I've got hundreds of prints of this test image, which is available for download on the Northlight Images site. I put a link in the notes for it. But I know what this image looks like. I can print this without even looking at the screen. I don't need to look at the screen to see whether this print is okay. I can tell it from the tonality, all kinds of things. Now, if I put it in a viewing cabinet like this and just put it up a bit so I can see it, I can see differences between papers. Now this particular one, the PDV one here, it has like a little roller click at the back, so you can just put prints into it. So I can take a print here, I put it into the right slot, there we go, and it's locked it in place. Now beware of things like I'm getting reflections off this, so I have to be a bit careful using it. I also, if I put it down here, I have to realise that I'm getting light from over here. I'm getting light reflected from the table. That's why I've got this piece of grey paper in front, so that the brown of the table is not reflected onto this, because that makes a difference as well. But something like this, you do not need it. You need a consistent viewing light. Now, this is professional grade 1. I find I don't actually use it that often because experience has led me to know when I edit things how prints are going to come out. Now, if you want something like this, great, they're great. If you live anywhere near Leicester and are interested in getting one, you might save me putting it on eBay, because I genuinely don't use it, and I could do with it, even though it folds up, I could do with the space. But anyway, this is a proper viewing stand. Now, any other things about it to be wary of? Yes. So you'll see this picture on the screen here. You see there's a bright white interface element, an open folder here. That affects how you see things. Whether you have a black background, a white background, or a grey background, that makes a difference as to how things look on screen. You'll notice this is a neutral grey background. That's why I use a neutral grey background when I'm editing. Just brings in that bit of consistency. Black backgrounds make your pictures look great on the screen. That's why they're done. White backgrounds make your print look a bit dull. If you're going to frame a print and going to put it, and this is done on a glossy paper, if you're going to frame something, you have to bear in mind with a print that you might be framing, you might be matting it and things like that. So there are lots of factors that make a difference on it. Now, I hope that's not been too confusing, but the key message is use test prints, use consistent lighting, don't worry about the colour temperature, worry about getting the brightness to match. That's the key element of it. And you have the tool to measure brightness, it's called your camera. You can do that within, easy enough to do. So I'll put some links to some colour management resources as well in the notes that are the key things that I said, if you want to know more, read this. There's a book, and there's a chapter of a book which is available as a PDF all about colour management. But all of this stuff, it's not that difficult. I shall now fold this up and put it away again unless somebody wants it. He says, hint, hint. But you have to come and pick it up in Leicester. I'm not posting it. Anyway. There you go. Thanks for watching. Hope you found it of interest, and please do ask questions, because it's people asking questions about this stuff that sort of reminds me to cover things in videos and the likes. So thanks and bye.